Okay guys, welcome to day 25 of my 90-day chess challenge. Today we're looking at the prophylactic protocol. That's basically looking at our opponent, right? So, okay, we've got our own plan, but we're going to apply preventative measures to our opponent's plan. So we're going to look at three things. The most annoying move. What is the immediate move? Then their strategic dream. Where do they want to be in a few moves' time? And then finally, and most importantly, how do we stop it, right? So level 4 players, the research suggests, like disable the defense. We stop the opponent from doing what they want to do. And it also suggests that up to 30% of games can be prevented if you start doing this. So with that in mind, let's jump over to our first game today. I'm going to play 10-minute rapid games. Quite like the format yesterday. It was quite smooth. So I'm going to try and play a few games today, see if we can get some joy with that again. Now, my opponent's plan, I don't think they have too much of a plan at the moment, but my plan is to come out here. If my opponent plays this, it's a big mistake already. With my opponent playing relatively quickly. Okay, so here, what I like to do usually, I don't know if it's actually the best move, but maybe something like this I like to do, and like this. Obviously, my opponent here wants to fianchetto. That is going to be 90% of the next move. I can't actually stop that, but what I can do is put some pressure on this diagonal and create some difficult situations perhaps down the line, as well as open the option to queenside castle. Okay, so my opponent does do that. I might commit here. If I commit, do we have any issues? Otherwise, I can play a little bit more conservatively. And I think as soon as my opponent commits here at this point, because I might want to play this move, this might be an interesting one. I usually want to play that down the line. Again, I'm not sure if this is the best move, but I'm just thinking my opponent may castle here, probably wants to castle. How can I prevent that? Okay, let's move a pawn on the king side, and then that's going to make him less likely to immediately castle perhaps, but he does. Okay, so now I know that I can get this pawn storm active pretty quickly. I think he has to play this move here, but I can always go for a trade. Okay, he doesn't. Now, I think if I do this, he can never take, because if he takes, well, let's go here first, and then I'll perhaps play this move. Now, let's see, can I do it? I think I can do it. So here, if my opponent takes, I just take with the rook, and it's game over, because there's no way he can stop this checkmate. He takes with the... Okay, so here, I think I can do that and takes here. Don't really care about this pawn, if I'm honest. Let's say we go here immediately. There's no way to stop it immediately because we've just got too much pressure on this file now. If he takes, I just slide over. I don't think there's an immediate way he can stop it. Yes, he can get a check here, and that's fine, but can't I just come here? Because if he checks here, not too worried. Guess he might push the pawn at some point. Now, I'm not... Obviously, I have some difficulties if he comes here, so it's got to be quite sharp, but I've got all kinds of mate threats as soon as I take this pawn. And he can never really move the knight, I don't think. He needs a couple of moves here, right? So I've got imminent mate threats as soon as I take this. Let's say I go here. Okay, so he goes here, I go here. He goes here, I go here. No, I can't. I have to go. Think about this for a moment. Can I get out of this? If I go here, he can go here first with the check and then take. Maybe I just sack. I think I just sack here. Just don't think he can ever take the pawn. Then I can go here. Threaten checkmate. So he's got to be super careful now because I've got one checkmate here. He's always got to put a check in, which is really interesting. He's got to check me the whole time, which means now here, I go here. Let's say takes and he protects. Takes, I'm threatening the queen. Okay, takes. I remove, he takes there. That's not an option at the moment. However, that is an option, and then that's checkmate again. Now, double attack here. I have imminent checkmate there. Maybe I should have thought that through a little bit more. Have I got time to... So I go here. Here and here he doesn't have a black bishop. These are protected well. So let's go here, here. Then I've got more checkmate options up here. I just got to avoid the checkmates at the moment. Okay. I can always come here and here, which I think is fine. And I can run, and I've got a nice little barrage here. Yeah, okay, so you can go here and check me again. So what? Doesn't really do anything. Here, now I can get here at some point. And start threatening all kinds of stuff. Can I just do that now? Like, what's... My opponent has no more checks. I can just do that. Okay. No problem. I have to... Okay. Now that threatens that. My opponent does have a check. I go here, maybe here. Right, what's my opponent's attack here? He's got this. Then that blunders met. He can never move this, which is an interesting one at the moment. My attack's still on. Obviously, I'm down a lot of material, but kind of, he's got obviously takes here. Then I can just take, can I? Okay. Let's say here. Right. What happens in that scenario? Or what happens if I take here, he takes again? I think I go here now. Oh, but that opens the check. Oh, that was a bit silly. Oh, I think you can just take it. Oh, that was silly. Yeah, that was really silly. Okay. Do I have options here? That was a bit of a blunder. Okay. Well, I can't see. I'll still try. Do I have any more attacks? I think I was perhaps a little bit naive. That my opponent doesn't have has a check here. Never say never. Looking unlikely. If he goes here, have queen is undefended at the moment. I guess he can go here. takes with check. Perhaps takes again with check. Oh, it's looking difficult now. I think I've got many options. But you never know, you never know. I'm going to try and play to the end. Maybe difficult to do that, but you never know. Make him checkmate me. That was the only move. My opponent's plan, well, yeah, probably take this. Still try and think about it, even though it's completely maybe a lost cause. I think that's my only move. And here's, I'm not checkmate. Doesn't do it. That's my only move. Okay, well, there we go. Okay, let's proceed. We'll get a few games under our belt before we go for analysis. Because I want to keep thinking about my opponent's plan, perhaps a little bit more than my own. So again, we get the same position. Right, bishop comes out first. I think now I can already play this. So he wants to get a strong diagonal here. The reason I play this is so at some points maybe I can unleash the pawn storm if the knight comes out here. It also preps the immediate threat of this, which I think my best move here is take actually this, then my opponent goes back. However, I think the best move is like my opponent goes back, but it's very rarely played. Then I think I play here because my opponent is planning to do this, which then would, or I can add some protection to this pawn. Now, my opponent's plan, get here, get here. Maybe I just stop. This pawn is under threat if I move my knight here, so I think I start with the knight. Then if the bishop comes out, I can protect this. And just take, doubling the pawns. I'm okay with it. Now, I think I attack here. Have I got any issues with the attack? I suppose at the moment it's undefended, so perhaps I push. My opponent goes here. Am I worried? Not immediately. I can go here, and I just play. That takes first. But then I should get, okay, so let's say takes here. Still got a strong center, I'm happy. I can do that. If my opponent takes, I just take. Good coverage of this knight. Now, perhaps can go here, get the queen out. Still everything's defended. But I think I want to do this first. Now, my opponent's plan, probably get his queen out somewhere. Now, let's think about where he's going to go. Maybe he can't go here at the moment, so perhaps he's do something weak. He has to still get his knight out somewhere. I can take this now, but then that would allow my opponent to develop, so not perhaps the best move here. I'm looking to get my rook perhaps to this file, and that way I can get a little bit of extra protection, start to think about these moves, and my opponent has to bring their bishop back, which maybe they want to do. I'm also looking, okay, where does it go? It has to go to this square now. So perhaps start with this. Because then if he plays this, maybe this back, or queen. I don't really want to open this. I've got good control over these squares at the moment. I kind of want to keep that until I've got a good attack. Now, my opponent's only option if I push the pawn is to take or take, in which case I can take with the pawn perhaps, and get better central control. I think I'll do that. Because if he comes back here, not too worried. If he takes, I take with the pawn, adding more pressure on this square, keeping my bishop on a good diagonal. He does go back. Okay, now I'm thinking, how do I get an attack on the go? So my opponent doesn't have a strong attack at the moment. Thinking here is maybe an option, or here. as my opponent does not attack. Don't see any reason to take. What's my opponent's next move? His knight is very passive at the moment. He's only got that square for it. So perhaps this is the best move at the moment. Any issues with that? No, I think it's good. And we're moving progressively over. We've got perhaps a least active piece coming over here. It also opens up the scope for my rook. See that as a multi-purpose move, perhaps. I'd like to undouble these pawns if possible. How can I attack? What's the drawback of that move now? It's going to come here, maybe here. That's his only square for the knight. So anywhere I can impact that. If I go here, not a good move. Got quite a good, strong. I'm wondering if I can play this, because then takes, and I've got pressure here. Then he can just play one of, well, perhaps not that move. I like this bishop though. It's a strong bishop compared to his, which is somewhat weaker at the moment. So, okay, takes any advantage to that. I'm threatening that pawn. So then if he pushes, takes, not that good. I kind of want to open this scope up and get my queen a bit more active. So, yeah, let's do that for now. Opponent can't come in. Provoke some, perhaps some weakening moves of his pawns. Not sure if it's the best move, but I do get that. Now I'm opening up the sacrifice. Let's say now I go here, right? And then that's open. Sack, take, bishop takes back, and he can't recapture. Actually, it's not a bad move, but here, this comes out. Can't see anything concrete yet, other than if he does take and I take. I like it actually, because I can maybe get a knight there, which is perhaps a bit threatening. And if he pushes here, I think I can just take this. Yeah, I like that. I like that arrangement at the moment. No real threats from my opponent. That's why I was able to get an attack quite quickly. I mean, feels like his pieces are a bit hampered, a little bit behind. He's got one knight that's kind of covered by these guys. So yeah, it is pretty helpful thinking about my opponents and how I stop their plans on some level, because honestly, it doesn't feel like they have a clear plan at the moment. At least it's difficult to achieve that. I think, right, takes. He has to take because of checkmate. I have to go here. Well, I don't have to, but I do go here, and then I threaten his queen. I just get all kinds of attacks here, I think. And if he doesn't take, what are his other options? Push that, then I just take here, threaten mate again. We're in the same situation where I have to take. Otherwise, my longer term plan is to do this. Opponent's long term plan, what do they have? I don't really see one at the moment. Interesting position. I like this game. I'm just throwing my opponent off a little bit because they seem a bit confused now. Taking a lot of time to think about this one, which is understandable. And it doesn't seem actually like there are a lot of clear moves for my opponent, who was playing very quickly up to this point. I've also got like if this bishop moves, at some point perhaps I've got this, which then puts loads more pressure. But because I've been able to exert so much pressure around this area, you know, in particular, like this square doesn't want to open up. It just seems dangerous, you know, even though I don't have a concrete plan as of yet. It just does seem dangerous to open this up with the queen there. Sure, I'm going to be able to get attacks and, as I say, ideas to rook lift. Curious. Burning a lot of their time here, which is good. Hopefully we can get into some time scrambles. Yeah, other than when I'm kind of panicking and a little bit stressed or conscious, I'm pretty solid at bullet. So, I mean, there have been a lot of games in the past I've won, just perhaps a little bit of out of practice, like Magnus. You know, Hikaru was so dominant in bullet because he was playing all the time. Magnus just stopped playing. Obviously, can't really draw a comparison between myself and those two geniuses, but we can aspire, eh? Okay, my opponent really thinking here. I think in the meantime, let's have a look over, just double check today we're on track. So the threat was if my opponent's move right now, what's the most annoying thing they could do? Let's start with that. Oh, and let's go back to here. Most annoying thing they could do. I don't know. I don't really see takes as that annoying. What are the actual moves? Like maybe this, and then I takes. Not sure. Either way, well, hang on. Let's say here. No, hang on. Here opens up this, so I can't do it. Here, I think I just take. Otherwise, I'm wondering about this sacrifice anyway. Let's say he goes here. No, that doesn't look good because then I just open up his scope for no reason. I think the argument is that, you know, I've got it quite solid at the moment. And yeah, I feel like this is a great example. You know, when we're looking, okay, bring up the infographic again. We'll wait for my opponent. You know, level 4 defense, right? I'm basically at this point now smothering my opponent and not giving them an attack, not giving them a definitely out of book and in a very uncomfortable position, or they've just disconnected. You know, that's very possible. My opponents from Vietnam, depends on where they are, the connection might not be good. And I know that because I've been there and I've worked there. Very beautiful place, one of my favorite in the country. Oh, it's annoying, my opponent's disconnected. Okay, but if they disconnect, I'm just going to stop and analyze this game, and I think that is going to be so important, guys. So stick around for that one, and we'll go into depth on some of these lines, as well as like specifically looking at prophylactic thinking, which is what my opponent could or could not do. It's a shame because I was really looking forward to playing this one out. Obviously, I'm happy for the win, but would love to play this one out. So we'll just play it out on the computer, I think. So again, we'll jump into, first of all, a manual review. So I'll load this up, but then get the review going. So let's go over to the review one, getting a bit more handy with this OBS magic. Close that, come back over here. Load this up. No, okay, right, 76%. So I didn't play that good, and it actually looks like the sack was not that good. So let's see. I did get a little bit of a sneak preview before I analyzed, but I looked at so many lines here. I mean, like, let's look clearly at the take line, because that's perhaps something I want to look at, and maybe I'm not thinking clearly enough. Let's see. Come on, why are you loading so slow? Okay, we're up. Turn the analysis off. We'll go back to that in a minute. Now let's get up to the interesting point. I don't see any big issues here. Okay, so I think at this point I'm accepting, you know, doubled pawns here at some point, but I don't really mind this because I know there's options to come here and, like, with this file potentially being open. It does give me a weak pawn there if this pawn does go. But like, I've got so much central control with my pawns, it should allow me to get an attack going relatively quickly in a lot of scenarios. When my opponent castles, you know, I can get this great open FR, which is dangerous. Actually, we want a red one for that because that's danger zone. And then, yeah, kick it, you can take it, it does come back. And let's get into this juicy scenario. Right, so we talked about this a lot. Let's run the scenario here. So let's say my opponent does take, and then I take. I was thinking this. My opponent can't take. Perhaps they have to play this now, was my thought. And then this opens up. Let's say I just drop back here, right? Maybe I don't even take. Not sure if it's the best thing to do. But yeah, I hadn't like much more than that. So let's say I do drop that back now with this file open. Alternatively, like my opponent can take here, then he takes and comes here, perhaps attacks my queen. Perhaps I didn't have anything, you know. Wondering about this still. Yeah, but I probably want to keep the pin. And then let's say takes. Can I then take and let's say this? I was thinking here, then my opponent comes back here. And then I don't want to trade at the moment, but let's say I come here, my opponent can come in front, can they? Yeah, perhaps I don't have anything concrete here. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't really have a follow-up. My plan was loose somewhat. Right, let's go through the review then. Jump over here. Perhaps I didn't have anything there. Overly optimistic, but let's say, okay, right, at this point, Stock Squish wants me to just take it. Very quiet move there with E1, just getting my queen scope perhaps a little bit more active there. Okay, wanted me to take. I do get a strong position. That is a blunder. That is also a blunder. Okay, right. So not solid in this case. Now, when my opponent does that, because it does allow takes, and I take here, my opponent takes, with the pawn, are they okay? Either way, yeah, okay, not a good position. That was definitely overly optimistic. Perhaps I got a bit lucky. All right, two games there with the United. However, guys, I am working on my, you know, the plan. The plan is prophylactic thinking. I'm trying to think about my opponent's moves. And I think I did that reasonably well. You know, I kept my opponent in a position. I went overly optimistic attack. But I'm pretty happy about how I was thinking in those games, if I'm honest. So yeah, that's it for today. Up and hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you got a lot of value out of that, even if it's just thinking about your opponent on those levels, those 3 levels. Appreciate a like and subscribe, guys, if you can. I've got the playlist with all the videos in there if you're interested in those. Thank you very much for watching.